All right, we are now live, so no cussing, Claudia.
All right. I'll try not to.
Stuart, you're in Southern California.
Yes, San Diego.
Is it okay if we hate you right now because
Yes.
Why?
we have 29 degrees and a feel like temperature of 19?
Oh,
Come over
And
for lunch.
a week ago, no lie, it was 76 degrees. I was golfing in shorts.
yeah. Welcome to Ohio.
Yeah, it's ridiculous.
What are you going to do?
It's ridiculous, Stuart. I'm telling you. All right, let's see. Where are we here? We are about a minute in. So is everybody ready?
Yeah, go
All
ahead.
right, buckle up. Here we go.
All right.
Welcome, everyone. Once again, episode 7. Good Health by Claudia podcast with me, Denny Schaefer. Of course, that's Claudia. This is a production of Denny Radio. Our guest today, we're calling it the Power of CBD. With us today is Stuart Tomk. He is a leader in the CBD industry in the forefront of research. He's the vice president of business and development for CV Sciences, cvsciences.com. Stuart, welcome to the show,
Yay!
the podcast,
You're
all
here.
of that. Now, you're in Southern California right now. Why don't you hurt us all before we start? What's the current temperature right now?
Oh, it's a very cold 63 degrees here in Southern California.
Okay, look at that. You
That
knocked
knocked his
Knocked my
headphones off.
headphones off. That is just, yeah, we're at a balmy 29, feel good temperature of 19.
Yeah,
So, a
that's
week
okay.
ago, though, Stuart, we were at 76 degrees and I was golfing. Yeah, not today, not today.
You'd rather be doing this, right?
Of course,
Of
with
course.
you, where would I
With you,
rather be on a Friday
with
morning?
us and Stuart.
Exactly.
So-
all right, so let's start here because I know you guys will start talking in all the lingo, and Claudia will say things that I'm not sure that are in English. There's a lot of myths that I find with people and CBD products. A lot of untruths, lies, the wrong perception of CBD products. Like people, well, if I take them, am I going to get high? Am I going to be, I mean, what? Do you find that in the industry with you, or what? Can you address that before we get going too far down the road, Stuart?
Absolutely, Denny. And I also want to say something. One of my media coaches, when he listened to how we speak about CBD, he looked at me and looked at my mentor at the time who was running regulatory here at the company. And he said exactly what you said. He said, "Why does the bald guy not speak in English? And why does he not speak in complete sentences?" And so anyway, I've made a strong effort since that shaming, so to speak, on to speak English about a subject that people are very confused about. So thank you, Denny, for starting us out with, let's speak in plain language here.
Right.
CBD is simply an ingredient in hemp that emerging research suggests may have benefit in the area of inflammation, stress, and pain. It's just an ingredient in hemp that emerging research suggests may have benefit in the areas of inflammation, stress, and pain. CBD is not intoxicating, which means you will not get stoned. You will not get high. You can drive your car and operate heavy machinery. And that misunderstanding of what CBD is still pervasive in the market. And there are thousands of people around the country, maybe millions, that are still confused. So thank you for starting us off with that. CBD is not THC, and
That
it
was a
gets
good
you healthy.
question.
It doesn't get you high.
Okay, that is a good question. But boy, that sounds like the way you describe it, it's almost like a miracle ingredient, because who doesn't have stress? Who doesn't have anxiety, especially this time of the year? I mean, is that a fair thing to say?
Well, Stuart, let's talk about just for a moment, which will go into the question he's asking. The fact that we are all born with an uptaking system for the components of this plant, it's pretty profound. And so when we talk about, is it a miracle, there's so much research going on, which you can speak about, but it's helping in so many ways. And I think we're going to continue to find it helps in so many ways because it's part of us. So so take it from there.
Well, I think just to build on what Denny's saying, we said the same thing, Denny, about omega-3. people thought there's no way that this thing from cod liver oil could be so helpful for our brain and for our hearts and for our nervous system. But to your point, Claudia, as the research came out to demonstrate that there was not magic here, but science in terms of how many milligrams of omega-3 may be helpful for which conditions. And now, Denny, we have 2 omega-3 based pharmaceutical drugs. So it went from grandma's cod liver oil to a multi-billion-dollar tool in the tool chest to not only keep healthy people healthy, but to help reduce blood lipids like triglycerides and even reduce death 25%. So the thing I want to say about CBD is it's just a tool in the tool chest of all of the interventions that we have: exercise, lifestyle modification, diet, dietary supplementation, prayer, meditation, charity, all of the things that you can do to help make yourself and the world a better place. So thank you for reminding us it's not a panacea. However, to Claudia, to your point, because we're born with a system that directly interacts with the plant, that means there's something powerful here. And I'll give you a simple analogy that everyone can relate to. We've all heard that we make our own natural opioids. We have a natural opioid system. So when you're out and you're exercising and you're making your natural opioids, that's because you have receptors for them through your whole body. Mm-hmm. That doesn't mean that we were born to take heroin. It just means that we have a system that interacts with that plant. We also have a system that interacts with the cannabis plant. So that relationship on how, on some level, God made us, the universe, whatever you believe, we've been hardwired to have interactions with these plants that are grown outside in nature. That really helps us think about where they fit in the tool chest. So it's profound, but to your point, it's not a silver bullet.
Right. But it is fair to say, with all the research that's happening so quickly, I think they're going to continue to find the benefit for so many things.
Well, that's where we're at right now. That's the thing why these shows are so important, because we're just at the beginning. I'm going from memory here now, but I think we have 45,000 peer-reviewed scientific papers on omega-3. And as I mentioned, 2 FDA-approved pharmaceutical drugs. Or you can go into Claudia's and get omega-3, or you can eat fish. The thing that's happening with cannabis and with CBD is we're just at the beginning of figuring out how many milligrams of which of these components from the cannabis plant are effective for which conditions. So to be fair, right now, the only thing that we can say for sure that we know without a shadow of a doubt is that CBD is currently approved by the FDA to treat rare forms of epilepsy. And they give the CBD on top of all of the standard medications. And I don't know if you've heard this yet, Denny, but they found out that CBD reduces seizures an extra 45 to 50%.
It's very amazing.
On top.
It's incredible.
Of the modern medicine. So the question is, what can CBD do potentially for people that are not epileptic? So that's why when I say CBD is an ingredient in hemp that emerging research says may have application in the area of inflammation, stress, and pain, it's because CBD is a natural modulator of those systems, different than a drug. A drug is an inhibitor. So I think the future of our whole conversation with nutrition is how these two worlds come together, right? Traditional folk remedies, herbal remedies versus FDA approved drugs. And when people find out there's a synergy, it's not either or, it's and, we'll be able to appeal to the greatest number of people, and this thing won't seem so niche.
Oh, that's a good word. Niche. I like it. So CBD, is it just all by itself? Is CBD in other ingredients? How does the whole CBD break down, and what do you take it for?
Okay, I'm so happy that you're here because you're helping us to really drive this into a very...
We love Claudia, though, too.
Well, yeah, but you know what? Here's the thing. And my husband always says this, because I've been doing this for a gazillion years. Denny is asking the questions that most people out there want to know. So it's a good balance. So
I'm a novice.
No, I heard about you. And I knew, and Claudia told me ahead of time, and I think this is great. The two of you, the energy is great, because sometimes what happens is those of us that have spent our whole lives like Claudia and I have in the natural product industry,
yes,
it's like speaking inside baseball.
Right.
And if you're not into inside baseball, it just sounds like gobbledygook. Again, when I went to Washington, D.C. to have this media training, I sat down there and Richard looked at me and said, "What is CBD?" And I said, "CBD is one of 100 cannabinoids that interact with the endogenous." And he said, looked at my mentor Duffy and said, "Why does the bald guy not speak English? What is wrong with him?" And so you're asking a great question. CBD is one of the components in cannabis. Now, this is important, Denny. CBD does not occur in any other plant in nature.
it's pretty
This
amazing.
is important.
Wow.
It's very important.
So
That's
that's something
amazing.
because cannabis was illegal and still is at the federal level, and all of the original research was designed. It's a funny story. Some senator's kid was stoned all the time, and he asked the NIH to figure out if it was really going to make his kid crazy and prove how stupid and unnecessary this compound is. So all of the original research started out with a real bias to prove that it was dangerous. And they just passed some bills yesterday, passed a bill yesterday that's going to expand the research side of this so we can really get down to the bottom of it. The point that CBD doesn't come from tomatoes. It doesn't come from oregano. There's no CBD in fish. There's no CBD anywhere in nature other than in the cannabis plant. And that's what scared the daylights out of people, because they confused cannabis with hemp.
Right.
Two different things.
Well, here's what's interesting. It's the same plant.
Right.
But what makes it hemp is the percentage of the psychoactive component. This is already going to get confusing, but check it out. The only difference between hemp and cannabis is whether or not it gets you stoned. Remember, hemp was used to make rope?
Yeah.
And my grandfather, when he first busted me for smoking pot when I was a teenager, he said, "I know all about cannabis. I was a jazz musician, you know, and hemp is different than cannabis because only a dope smokes rope." I never forgot that. So the hemp, which you use to make rope, has CBD in it, and the cannabis that you use to get stoned is primarily THC, and it has no CBD in it at all. So that's why researchers were curious. These two things are in the plant together, CBD and THC. And one of my other mentors, you'll love this story. He was up on stage at a big science conference and he said, "I know you're confused. I'm a mental health expert and I'm showing you a picture of marijuana. Let me help you. We all know what green tea is, right? Right? We all know what green tea is.
Oh, yeah.
Green tea is different than coffee. Why?" He says, because green tea has a gas and a break. Gas and a break. Green tea has L-theanine and caffeine. He says coffee just has caffeine. There's no L-theanine in coffee. You get more jittery with coffee than with green tea. Now follow with me. He said with cannabis, it's the same thing. There's gas and a break. CBD is the break. THC is the gas. CBD is the break. THC is the gas. So up until recently, no one has ever been able to take CBD with little to no THC because that didn't exist in nature. So we are in uncharted territory. As I said, the only thing that it's approved for are these rare forms of epilepsy. What we're learning is in smaller amounts, it's great for inflammation, for pain, and anxiety, which everyone is struggling with.
Yes.
So it does make sense that it's in the toolbox and it might be here to stay.
Yes. And you know, that's something that, you know, when we teach about plants, there's all these beautiful components that make a plant the totality of what it is, which is exactly what you're talking about. So there's other cannabinoids. Everybody knows CBD, but now you're coming out with products that are hitting some of those other cannabinoids. Aren't they finding research that some of them hit the receptor sites for the gut or for the different parts of the body?
Yeah, and
like
it's
CBG and
it's still so new, and that's where we really have to have some humility here, because we know so little. There are very, very few randomized control trials in healthy subjects demonstrating what CBD might be able to do. We know a lot more about THC than CBD. Let's face it, anyone watching this show that knows who Jimi Hendrix is knows what THC is.
right.
Now, that's different than CBD. When I first started doing this, people would ask me, what is the CBD stuff? And listen to how stupid this sounded. I would say, do you know what THC is? Then they get this weird look on their face. I'd say, it's not that. that was from a communication standpoint, that was a nightmare. That's why when we had the media training in Washington, D.C., and Richard looked at us and he said, why don't you just say something like this? CBD is simply an ingredient in hemp that emerging research suggests may have application in the area of inflammation, stress, and pain. Leave it to that. Now, the 2018 Farm Bill passed. Mitch McConnell led this whole thing with the 2018 Farm Bill, and that removed hemp, which again is just low THC marijuana that you use to make rope. Remember what my grandpa said, only a dope smokes rope. They removed the hemp from the definition of marijuana, making hemp no longer a controlled substance in 2018. Hemp is the inexpensive way to get CBD, because when you look at agricultural hemp, industrial hemp, that they use not only to make rope and t-shirts, but hemp seeds and hemp seed oil, which has been around for a long time.
Yes.
That's where they get the CBD from. Different than what we call the little Christmas trees, or you see sometimes those pictures of the indoor marijuana grows where there's all these plants and bright lights. That's where we get the THC. So to Claudia, to your point, they're just starting to find out if there are 100 cannabinoids, and we know THC and CBD, what do the other ones do? We might be 20 years away from figuring out what they do. What we know for sure about CBD is that it has benefit in inflammation, anxiety, and pain. And that's an area where people that are buying the product, and Claudia, I'd love to hear what you say about this. When people come into your store and buy CBD, how often do they return it? Because they come in and say, it didn't do anything. How many returns do you get for CBD?
Honestly, I don't know that we've ever had a return on CBD, to be honest. But, you guys trained us to teach it properly. So we're giving proper education and guidance. So people love this product. And I'll tell you, it's at all ages. We have young children that are dealing with anxiety and all these things. And, so we have a full range of age groups that are taking this product and getting wonderful benefit from it. Wonderful benefit.
So you Danny, really quick, I just want to finish this one thought. That's why I was trying to make a point. If in a health food store, if someone buys something and it doesn't work, they return it to you, right, Claudia?
Right.
So that's why, Danny, I wanted you to hear that. We're hearing that people that buy the CBD, the Plus CBD, I'll brand our company for a moment, they buy Plus CBD, they almost never, ever, ever return it. So think about that. Here's something that we hardly know what it does, except for rare forms of epilepsy. It may have benefit in the area of inflammation, stress, and pain. People hear the siren song. They come in and buy the product and they don't return it. Do you know why? Because it's actually working.
Because it's working.
It helps them.
Yep.
That's the free market right there. That's the free market. And every product, Claudia, that you've introduced in the store over the years that was a flash and bang, that maybe had the Oz effect, that there was a huge trendy popularity like green coffee bean, and then it crashed into the obliteration of being a stupid product. You haven't seen that with CBD. And Denny, that's how we know a product is going to be here to stay. People rarely ever return omega-3 fish oil. How many omega-3 fish oil returns do you get? Not many, right, Claudia?
Not many. Right.
All right. So I got to ask the basic. That's amazing. I tell you, by the way, you were absolutely right about Stuart. He's awesome.
He's awesome.
We want you once a month. All right. So I'm going to ask a basic question because I'm a newbie. I'm being educated by my mentor and Sensei Claudia. Anyway, so if I'm following this correct, Stuart, CBD and THC come from the same plant, correct? How do you abstract the CBD separate from the hemp? How do you separate it so you're only using one and not both?
Okay, this is so good, Claudia. I'm so glad that we have this, because this is
You're
going to be one of
welcome.
the best. This will be one of the best interviews we've ever done, because we're not speaking over people's heads. So I
Right.
want you to imagine this. So, Denny, have you ever seen agricultural hemp, the kind that they use to make rope, like I'm talking about? It grows like bamboo, ditchweed.
I think I have.
It's one of the most sustainable plants on the planet. It's a beautiful plant.
So I believe I have, yes.
It's an outdoor grown plant,
Right.
and it can grow up to 20 feet tall.
Yeah.
And they used it to make paper. They used it to make Betsy Ross's flag. Our founding fathers all grew hemp. It's an incredible agricultural commodity.
It's been used for centuries.
I think it was even used in the original Levi's jeans, if I remember correctly.
Yes, because it's such an incredible material. Now, the issue is the definition of hemp is marijuana that has less than 0.3% THC. So low THC, high CBD marijuana is called hemp. Can you see why regulators and the government have been really confused about this? I mean, this is confusing. When we used to go up to Capitol Hill, because Claudia asked me the other day if we're still part of the U.S. Hemp Round Table, and that's the big lobbying group that helped to get hemp to become a lawful plant. Remember, before 2018, ditchweed was still considered marijuana.
Yes.
So if you were walking around with a big bag of hemp, you might get pulled over by the police and sent to jail for having a big bag of dope. Mm-hmm. The difference is the stuff that gets you high has more than 0.3% THC. So think of near beer. You've got near beer and alcoholic beer, or as I used to say, how about coffee and decaffeinated coffee? That used to be my favorite analogy. Mm-hmm. So the full spectrum, full strength coffee, right, is different than decaf. So hemp is decaf, marijuana is regular. Hemp is decaf, marijuana is regular. So what we do is we grow plants that have very little to no THC in them, and that's what we use to make the plus CBD products. That's different than going to a medical marijuana dispensary where, check this out, they've got the THC in cannabis now up to 30%, where the THC in hemp that we use is 0.3%.
So there is no extraction. You just grow it that way. There's no extraction. You don't have to separate it because you grow it that way. So there's just like in near beer, there is a tiny bit of alcohol in all of the non-alcoholic beer.
Yeah,
it even says it on the labeling.
Claudia, when you first had kombucha at your store, did you have to get a liquor license to sell kombucha at your store ever? Do you remember that?
Yeah, but at one point they wanted to make it that way, but no, we've never had to do that.
So there's some states, Denny, the kombucha, the fermented beverage that's good for your guts, because there's some naturally occurring alcohol in there. There were some health food stores in some states that used to have a liquor license to sell kombucha. Yeah. So, the question is, what's the definition of zero, right? 0.3% or less makes it hemp. Now, there are products now, Denny, that are being marketed that are called THC free, but that definition's a little murky. It depends on how many decimal points over. So right now, the World Anti-Doping, WADA, the World Anti-Doping Group for athletes, they allow CBD, but not THC.
Right.
So they are okay with the World Health Organization has said that CBD is non-habit forming, non-intoxicating, and after all, Denny, they approved it for epilepsy in children. Mm-hmm. So if the FDA is going to let you give a whole bunch of CBD to an epileptic child, that's because the CBD doesn't get you stoned. It protects your brain, and it's good for inflammation, stress, and pain.
Mm-hmm. And I imagine there's a lot of athletes with the way they have to recover would use CBD quite a lot.
Here, I'll share a little story with you. They use a lot of THC too.
Well, yeah. As long as they don't get
Because
caught.
but because it's good for neuroprotection for the brain. Now, one of our medical advisors was the neurosurgeon for the Pittsburgh Steelers, and he's been a great teacher to me. And he told me about a year ago. He said, "Hey, kid, there's a new way that they're letting the athletes not fail their drug test." I said, "What are they trying to get them all on CBD? Trying to get them to quit THC?" He said, "No, we raised the limit so much on the test that nobody could fail." That's one way to pass a drug test, right?
Yeah.
Raise the limit so much that you can't fail. So what we're trying to help people understand is both of these molecules, THC and CBD, have medical application and wellness application. The question remains, how many milligrams of which one are appropriate for which condition? And that's something that we're currently figuring out.
When nationally is there going to be commercials that run on TV and on social media explaining the way you did between THC and CBD? I think it's just ignorance in the world. Would you agree?
They tried to do it on the last Super Bowl, but they got cut out. There was a CBD company that was going to try to advertise on the last Super Bowl. So people are just chomping at the bit to get out there and say something like this. If you're interested in medical marijuana, but you don't want to be stoned, we want you to learn a little bit about CBD, the healthy alternative. If you'd like many of the benefits of medical marijuana, but you don't want bloodshot eyes and you want to be able to go to work and not forget what you just said, you might want to try CBD from hemp. It's American. We grew it in Kentucky when we couldn't get hemp from Manila so that we could win the war effort. That is incredible. There's a great video called Hemp for Victory. Maybe we'll put that in the show notes for the show. It's on YouTube. It's one of these black and white grainy photographs that says, along the banks of the Kentucky River, American engineers are growing agricultural hemp so that we can make rope for the war effort, so we can beat the Nazis. It was incredible. And so that's the same.
Meaning, how many years ago was that made?
It was during the Second World War.
Oh, wow.
It's a black and white grainy image. You can find it on YouTube called Hemp for Victory. When I first started this job,
check that out.
That was the one video that opened my eyes and opened my brain so much. And that's why there's so much interest in growing hemp down in Kentucky. Now, interestingly enough, that's where the Army Corps of Engineers grew it, but it ends up being like it's not really the best place to grow it. It seems to grow better when you get a little bit further up north, because hemp is more appropriate in cold weather, as opposed to the marijuana plants high in THC that you find up in the mountains of Afghanistan or up in Northern California in the Emerald Triangle. So the plant that produces the CBD prefers a more colder climate, and the plants that produce THC like a warmer climate. That's why you always see those pictures in the back of High Times magazine of people growing marijuana indoors, where you can control the environment and control the light. So that's the other thing I'm hoping people can understand. What we're using to make our products is an agricultural outdoor crop that can replace plastic. You can take hemp and replace plastic. It's so strong. And eventually there'll be huge hemp farms all over the earth that are not only sucking CO2 out of the atmosphere and carbon sequestration, but we take the top part of the plant and we make plus CBD. The bottom part of the plant, you can replace plastic. You can make clothes instead of using cotton. You can use, it's as strong as graphene. Their car doors right now, BMW has some car doors that are made out of hemp. And even the Model T Ford, early on, Ford was using hemp because it's such an incredible industrial product.
That's very cool. I didn't know that.
That's amazing is what it is. By the way, I put the Hemp for Victory on YouTube. I put it on the comments, so people that are watching or listening, you can search that and you can watch the video that Stuart was just talking about.
Yeah, I mean, the hemp plant's been around for centuries. I mean, wasn't it used in the some countries years ago used it in the navies or whatever it was, the ocean being out
Oh,
in the
yes, no, to
ocean.
make the sails. Christopher Columbus could
Thank
not have
you.
found the
That's
New
what I'm
World
trying to say.
without
That's old
hemp.
school. That's old
In
school.
fact, let's go back even further. Let's go back to the Vedas. Let's go back 2,500 years, and let's look at the 4 sacred plants. Number 1 on the list, cannabis. And then there's sandalwood, neem, and tulsi. You probably haven't heard of the other 3, but you've heard of cannabis.
Well, we
It's
have all 3 at the store.
I'm
Just so
sure
you
you
know.
do.
We
I'm
do.
sure you do.
We educate on them, but that's very cool.
And
That's
in
very-
Chinese medicine, it was at the top of the pyramid of Chinese medicine, and it was also used, during the Dark Ages too. There's this famous doctor, Hildegard von Bingen, and she wrote this incredible music. One of her things is called the Songs of Ascension. They're beautiful. She was a doctor of the church, and she had a garden, and she understood all of these plants have a place in health and in nature. And Hildegard von Bingen used to say, if you wake up with a full head, then you can eat hemp. If you wake up and you don't have a full head, don't eat hemp. What do we know what she's saying now? What was she trying to say? If you've slept and you're rested, you wake up with a bunch of neurotransmitters so you can stay focused. Right. She says, people like that, you can eat some hemp. If you're not sleeping and you wake up and your head's all scattered, you don't want to use some cannabis if you're exhausted and you haven't slept. Do you see how interesting this is? We're starting to piece together what ancient medicine. You go back to the Temple of Judea, and there were 2 altars, and they recently scraped off the resin of both of these altars in the Temple of Judea. One of them had cannabis, the other one had frankincense.
Oh, wow. That's
one
amazing.
had cannabis, one had frankincense. So the idea of the burning bush, it has been suggested, was that image, did that have anything to do with cannabis? So much of this is rooted in antiquity and rooted in ancient medicine. What we're excited about is that CBD was approved a few years ago to treat rare forms of epilepsy. And to be fair, THC was approved in 1985. The FDA approved the psychoactive component for AIDS patients. They made a drug for AIDS patients in 1985 to take some THC. And I'm going to ask Denny to guess. I think Claudia knows the answer. Why do you think they would give AIDS patients a little pill with THC if they weren't eating? Why would they give them a little pill?
It gives you the munchies.
Right.
I need some Doritos, and I need Doritos now.
Now,
not that I have any experience with that. I'm told.
We'll teach
a friend of mine told me that.
We'll teach you to eat some organic corn chips.
Yeah, my bad. I'm sorry. I forgot who I'm sitting next to here.
No, now, but think about this. The THC gives you the munchies, and CBD tells you that you're full.
Right.
I love it. Now, normally we'd be winding down our podcast for today, but we're going over because we got Stuart, and I hope that's okay with both of you. We're going to go a little longer today.
You okay with that, Stuart?
Oh, yeah, no. This is great. No, we've never had, Claudia, in every show that I've done, we've not had a run-up this effective, this long, to help teach people what this stuff is.
Once people understand collectively, like as a whole, as a populace, understand the difference, it's going to be a game changer for the industry and for people's health.
Yes.
It's amazing to me. That's why I was so excited when Claudia told me this week we got Stuart. I'm like, all right, great. This is going to be a great, Facebook Live or podcast. So thank you, Stuart, for doing that. Now, did you bring some stuff here, Claudia, you want to talk about?
I did. So, Stuart, one of the things that I'm grateful you guys taught us right off the bat was to always start with a low amount and work up slowly, because where you're talking about they're finding what milligram is needed for what imbalance, we find when we do it properly, the way you guys educated us to do it, start low, work up. It's amazing how people are able to find the milligram amount that they need, whether it's for pain, inflammation, or stress and anxiety. So it's a beautiful way to approach that, especially when somebody's never taken it. So I just brought a couple. I never know which way to go here, Denny.
Right up to the camera.
All right. So
Right
So
up there.
this is a liquid that I grabbed. Great product. What is that? A 10 milligram per dose, isn't it, Stuart?
Yeah,
10
that's the
milligram per dose
750 milligrams in the whole bottle.
in the bottle, but 10 milligram per dose. We usually start people with that and work them up. I did bring, here, Denny, show this. Please, you do it better than I do. So this is, there you go. These are gummies. This is a great product. People love this product. And you see it says calm, and that's exactly what it does. It's calming people down. So it's wonderful. Some people use it at night. Some people use it during the day. The other one I brought, you and I were talking about both of these, and I just happened to grab both of them. This is the gummy for sleep. Now, this particular one, Stuart, this has a little bit of melatonin in it, doesn't it?
It does.
And
It
what,
has
is there theanine in there? I forget if there's theanine
that's in the calm gummy.
in the calm. Yeah.
This
So
one's
there's
got,
some
lemon
magnolia
balm
and lemon
yeah,
balm.
magnolia.
Yes.
So let's
And
break those down.
melatonin.
Let's break those three things down. Let's break the ingredients down for everybody so they understand why these are going to be effective. So let's talk about the sleep gummy first, okay? The sleep gummy, well, let's do calm first because you take calm during the day and sleep at night. Calm during the day and sleep at night. So the calm gummy has 10 milligrams of CBD, which is a nice amount to take to keep you calm during the day. 10 milligrams of CBD. It then has L-theanine, which if you heard me mention earlier, that's the part about green tea that keeps you from being so anxious.
Yeah, it's very calming.
Right? So that's got 100 milligrams of L-theanine. So that's the Zen part of green tea. And then it has something called 5-HTP. I know these terms are all complicated and long, aren't they? All that's the precursor to serotonin. Right? Serotonin is the neurotransmitter that makes you feel good. That's like the happy neurotransmitter, right? So it's a combination of CBD, L-theanine, and 5-HTP. And the gummy has only 2 milligrams of sugar. So people that are sensitive to sugar, there's not a lot of sugar. The red coloring comes from lycopene, which comes from tomatoes. You take between 1 to 3 a day, and it is like cool, smooth sailing, right?
Yeah.
You're just about to go to work and someone says something to you like, here, I need you to stop and do this. And then the kids want you to do this. And then your spouse wants you to do this. You take 1 to 2 of those calm gummies during the day and you're not reactive.
Right.
Your stress response is so much better. So you take the calm gummy during the day and then the sleep gummy at night. The sleep gummy has melatonin. Melatonin is what your brain needs to go to sleep. So serotonin from the sun, melatonin from the moon.
Right.
Serotonin from the sun, melatonin from the moon. So you've got melatonin, and then we have lemon balm. Lemon balm is considered baby Valium, and it's natural. It's been around for centuries.
Yeah.
And then we add another one in there. Claudia, do you have a lot of other products that have magnolia in there? Magnolia bark?
I mean, a couple, but I'm glad you put it in there because it helps that whole formula. I mean,
it's not only does it help with the fight or flight and the HPA axis, but it also helps to slow down the inflammatory signals. Because inflammation is one of the things that's keeping people up at night. And I just showed this to Claudia today, Denny. Check this out. She's going to have these over at the store. You can get both of them. Look at this, the sleep and calm gummy in a holiday survival kit.
Yeah, it's very cool.
I love it.
It's a great pack. Yeah,
and you know what this is for?
Together.
This is why when people come over for Christmas, you don't start talking about politics.
Yeah.
No. You say to them, here, we're going to play a game here. It's called, you're going to get your Christmas gift early, Uncle Fred, because we don't want anybody murdered in the bathroom during Christmas.
Take the calm, Uncle Fred. Take the calm. I love it. That's a brilliant idea.
So we made it easier. So even though, and even though you might not know what all these ingredients are, what you need to know is that no one's returning the product.
No one's returning the product. We get wonderful feedback on this product. And one other thing I want to show you here, Denny, show that. This is the topical. I brought the topical, the ointment. This is a wonderful product also. So there's 100 milligrams of CBD in that whole container.
But other botanicals. So that is so good. If you've got a bum shoulder, if you've got pain in your hands and pain in your back, the FDA has said, look, we're in the middle of an opioid crisis. If you've noticed how many commercials there are on television for Salon Paws, Icy Hot, old school Bengay, we have products like that too that combine the CBD. But this balm that Claudia is showing you, that's one of our top selling products with a low milligram amount of CBD, because you don't need a whole lot topically. If you've got pain, what CBD does, it's a counter irritant. So it helps to reverse the pain signals by acting as a counter irritant. So the best results are when people use some CBD topically and some CBD internally. So the combination of putting it on your body and putting it in your mouth, that's what works best. So the Sleep and Calm gummies are probably the best delivery system, because gummies, you've seen this, Claudia, have outsold capsules. I'll bet you never thought you'd see it happen, did you?
Everybody wants gummies anymore. Everybody, at every age. It used to be for kids, and then it was for seniors. Now we have a lot of people at all ages coming in for gummies. So they like that 2 milligram of sugar in there.
All right. So what else? Is there one more you wanted to talk about?
No, I just brought
one?
that. Yeah. So this is a liquid.
All right. So the liquid.
These are capsules.
Okay. So we know what the gummies do, and the topical cream is great for pain. So if you're taking the Calm during the day, the Sleep at night, the ointment for the for your pain. So you brought in
I'm just showing you
the
different
liquids.
Yeah, you might.
So when would you take that? What would you
great.
take it for?
No, this is so good. Thank you. We produced several pieces of original science here, and one of our papers, and I'll send you a link to the paper so that you can put it into the show notes. Okay. This is a peer-reviewed scientific paper where they gave 80 people that CBD, the one that's in that spray, 80 people, and they tracked an 80% reduction in anxiety.
Wow.
80% reduction in anxiety. Now, we've learned more, Claudia, since we first came into your store and taught you about this.
Yep.
We've learned more. When we used to say go slow and go low, we were still learning the best way to get it. In the science paper, they gave between 25 and 100 milligrams of CBD. That's more than we had originally thought, right? We're learning in real time.
Right.
Between 25 and 100 milligrams of CBD, and they had an 80% reduction in anxiety. Let me contextualize this. If we were a drug company, what we are, because we own CBD synthetically for helping people quit smoking, but it's not on the market yet. But if it was a drug for anxiety going through FDA approval, if you can get a 30% reduction in anxiety, that's called a blockbuster drug. 30% efficacy. We tracked an 80% reduction in anxiety. And that's going back to where Claudia started. And if Denny wasn't here, we would have gone on such a trip and we would have blown people's minds. Seriously, because she said something early on. I want to touch on it. We have an endogenous cannabis system.
Yes.
So we make marijuana all day long. But you make it and you break it down. You make it, you break it down.
Yes.
When you take that spray, when you take the gummies, your body's natural marijuana hangs around longer. So you get indirectly high on your own supply. What else does this? Exercise. That's the runner's high.
Yes.
It's not just norepinephrine. So what CBD does is it boosts the system that's designed to keep you balanced and healthy. So here's how you'd use that spray. Here's how Dr. Scott Shannon et al. Used the spray in the study. He gave it to the patients and said, when you're anxious? When you're anxious, just put a few sprays in your mouth. Think about this, because it's not marijuana, because it's not THC and you're not going to get stoned. He was comfortable saying, take it and see what happens. Here's what happened. 80 people had an 80% reduction in anxiety.
Mhm.
Now I'll send you that paper. When people see that with their own eyes, they're amazed. And then they say to me, well, why doesn't everybody know about this yet? Well, it only got decriminalized in 2018,
Right.
and it's still federally illegal because CBD is still not considered a dietary supplement, because technically CBD is already a drug for rare forms of epilepsy. So the learning curve, like we're back at the beginning. I'm going to make an analogy here. We're back in the 1940s when we just started to learn what omega-3 is.
Right.
We're in the 1940s in terms of research with CBD.
Yeah, we need to kick that up. It's 2022.
Well, that's why we do what we do every day, right, Stuart?
Mm-hmm.
Working
Yeah,
on
one more
raising
thing. One more thing. And I guess I know I'd be a mic hog here, but you showed the capsules. Can you hold the capsules up really quick, both of you?
Yep. Here's the
Okay.
caps.
There's the capsules.
Okay, Claudia, wasn't that the #1 seller for the longest period of time?
Oh, yeah. Yeah.
Okay. If you look at the spins data for people that just want, the free market will tell you if it's a good product, which is not a
Yes.
lie. It's true. The free market will tell you if it's a good product and if people want the product. That was the #1 seller for the longest time until people wanted higher milligram amounts. So what makes that soft gel separate? What makes that soft gel unique? We use that exact soft gel in a randomized control trial. Now, the trial I mentioned earlier about anxiety, that's an open trial. So people could hold their nose up at that and say, oh, it's an open label pilot trial. It's not a randomized control trial. What's the difference? In a randomized control trial, everyone's blinded. No one knows who gets the vitamin E capsule, and no one knows who gets the CBD. It's a blinded trial. That's why we call it randomized controlled blinded trial, double-blinded trial. That's the gold standard for proving whether or not something works. You following me?
Yeah.
That's amazing.
We did a study with that gold soft gel, and this is an interesting paradox. You're only allowed to study nutrition on people that aren't already sick. Okay, you can't give people dietary supplements if they're sick and publish a paper. The reason being is if they're sick, they need to be on standard of care. If you're putting them on supplements instead of drugs, that's medical malpractice. So what the FDA has said is, you folks in the supplement business, Claudia and Stuball here, you have to only prove you can make healthy people healthier. Let me say that again. All you can do is prove you can make healthy people healthier. Now, that's hard to do. That's hard to do. So what did we do? We gave one soft gel, to 60 people. And here were the results. And I'll send you this study too, so you can have 2 studies in the show notes, along with the Hemp for Victory video. 2 studies. That's all you have to read. That gold soft gel, people ate less. Why? It's not THC. You don't get the munchies. In fact, CBD makes food taste better. It doesn't make you munchy. It makes you enjoy the food. Why? CBD is an empathogen. It opens up your heart. It makes you able to connect more with people. What does THC do? It helps you forget the war. That's good. If you want to forget the war, you might want some THC. If you want to remember and connect more, you want CBD. CBD opens your heart. So people ate less.
That's such a beautiful thing.
I'm finally using that term because, people use that term empathogen for, like club drugs, and that's not what we're here to talk about. CBD is a natural empathogen that makes you more empathetic. That's why I want to put it in the holiday survival kit. So you can take it before your uncle starts talking politics, and you can look at him and you can say, you know what? Forgive him. He knows not what he does, right?
Yeah.
There's a special kind of stupid in there. So I'm going to finish this. So he ate less, slept better, and their HDL cholesterol went up, and they reported improved quality of life. Now, when I go to the doctor's shows and I show them, here, doc, here's a randomized control trial on our finished branded product, they look at me and they say, where's the order form?
Yeah. They want to get it. All right. I have one last question, and then we're going to wrap this up. I'm looking at the spray, and it says made with monk fruit. What exactly is monk fruit, and do I want to ingest that?
Of course. That's why it's in
Monk
there.
fruit. What is monk fruit?
Well, Stuart, go ahead.
Okay, monk
Stew
fruit
ball.
is from the it's from the low. That's in my nickname. You like that? Stew
I
ball here.
love that. I wish I'd have
It's
known that. I would have introduced you and said, "No, here's stew
Hey,
ball."
stew ball right here. Monk
That's
fruit,
awesome.
monk fruit. You know, we've all been looking for alternatives to sugar, right? It's one of the most controversial areas in nutrition, and I think it's been overblown, but it's, people are, if you take too much sugar, obviously you get all the yeast infections and the candida. Claudia talks about
There's the
this.
fungus. See, we didn't
It
even
is.
talk about fungus before the show. There you go.
Because sugar can feed fungus, that's true, but also fructose, which is half of granulated white sugar, turns into uric acid, which goes into your mitochondria and slows you down. And that's how you put on weight. So there's an issue. Like if you're Michael Phelps and you're swimming all day long, he could eat 10,000, 20,000 calories a day. We all saw the pictures when he stopped swimming and he was on the beach 6 weeks later and he gained about 40 pounds. It's because there is calories in, calories out. However, the natural product industry has been obsessed with finding natural alternatives to white granulated sugar. And you've heard of stevia. Stevia just has this weird kind of aftertaste, although it is probably better than white sugar. Monk fruit from the Lohan is the latest of all of it's the darling of all the natural sweeteners because it has the highest amount of sweetness for the least amount of stuff with a very low glycemic index, which means it doesn't spike your blood sugar the way that white sugar does. So it's
And
a
it
sugar.
It doesn't have a funky aftertaste like
No, it actually
stevia.
tastes good. It doesn't have the funky
Lohan's
stevia
a nice
aftertaste.
sweetener.
So
Yeah.
we
So
put
there is a sweetener in your store, monk
Of
fruit?
course.
I want to try it in my coffee.
Of course.
I love
No,
my coffee.
seriously. My wife does that. She puts monk fruit in the coffee in the morning, and she
Yeah.
has a sweetener that's a safer sweetener, and mainly because the monk fruit doesn't have the same glycemic index, so it's a safer
Right.
sugar.
Stuart, you are a treat. Thank you so
Isn't
much
he
for
wonderful?
doing this. Yeah, we got to do this again. Okay, we
Oh,
can't.
would
We
love
can't
to.
be just one and done because it was so informative. And do us a favor, if you will. Once we, I'll put show notes like some of the things once you send it to me. If you want to share it with your social media from your sites, that would be great too. To get the word out and help people understand that it's a game changer. What we've been talking about, this is a game changer in people's health, and it's really, really important stuff. So thank you for doing it.
Before we wrap up, I want to brag about Claudia.
Oh.
Claudia is an icon in the natural product industry.
Oh my goodness.
I was so happy when she told me she finally launched a podcast. And this particular show, we'll get into some of the other stuff that Claudia and I were going to talk about. But Claudia, you have been such a stalwart in our industry. Everybody knows you. Everybody respects you. You have an incredible heart. You've dedicated your life to being of service to others. And let's face it, service is the rent that we pay for our time here on earth. So I am so happy that people are going to finally get to meet you, because how many years have you been in the business now?
48. And very
Okay.
grateful.
48 years. And when you first started, didn't everybody say, oh, that's a silly thing to have a health food store? Who in their right mind would dedicate their lives to all the fruits and roots and barks, and only the weirdos were into that stuff, right?
Hippies, all the hippies.
Yeah.
Okay, well, listen to this. Over-the-counter drugs have just been dethroned by dietary supplements. Dietary supplements now sell $56 billion. We're selling more dietary supplements than Pepto-Bismol. Okay, it finally happened. Every person you meet, everywhere you go, they're going to start talking to you about their health. I'm a vegan. I'm a paleo. I do this. I do intermittent fasting. It's like the only conversation that's non-political. It's the only nonpartisan, non-political conversation that anyone can have. And I love that everyone is now arguing about the ways that they're trying to stay healthy is a lot better than arguing about the criminal ways that people are trying to figure out how to make money at the expense of other people. So there's been a big sea change, right? From like going from a gangster to being a health warrior for your own well-being. Because the only way we can take care of each other and take care of society is we've got to get ourselves healthy.
Absolutely.
And to keep healthy people healthy is now the most important job that you have.
Yes.
You feel
Claudia.
better. You treat people better.
Thank you,
I
Stuart.
find it. Stuart, you're awesome.
I love you. And I just want to say one last thing before we go. I keep telling Denny, as we continue on this journey, he's going to learn, and hopefully many people across our country will learn, nutrition, nourishing ourselves is the answer. It's not about this aggressive intervention that we're seeing with Western medicine. All that stuff is wonderful, but it should be last. not first. Nutrition is what heals people. It's what balances people. And I've always said, the healthier that we get as Americans, that alone will help our nation move forward in a wonderful, loving, positive way. So thank you, Stuart, for being with us. Next time we'll talk about the endocannabinoid system.
No, we won't. No,
Of course we
won't.
will. That'll be a
Okay.
good one. But thank you so much, Stuart.
God
Have a
bless you.
blessed holiday season, Stuart. Thank you.
Yes.
And we look forward to the next time.
Yeah, absolutely.
Okay. Bye-bye,
Thank
gang.
you.
I'll see you.
Take
Peace.
care. Oh my gosh, you were so right. He is the man.
He's wonderful.
Oh, he is so good.
Yeah,
Stew ball.
Yeah.
He's my stew ball. All right, these products that you brought, people, you can still see it up here. They're staying with me.
All
They're
right.
not going home.
They're for you.
I mean, they're going, staying here.
There you go.
But wow, that was just amazing. And the truth of the matter is people are clueless about CBD.
Right.
They just are. And hopefully this helped a lot of people understand the truth and what the difference is between, THC and CBD. Don't worry about it, Connie. It's just me and you now. Anyway, all right, I am going to let you listen. If you're going to download the podcast or if you are watching the video, please share this on your social media site so we can get the word out. One, that we're doing the live Facebook and we're doing a podcast because I edit this down and we put it in audio for people that are driving and they might just want to listen.
Yes.
It's really, really important to all of you to share this, to get the word out so the education will continue and people will get healthier. So please share. Claudia, I'll give you the last word as always.
Well, as always, just a reminder, just as Stuart said, it's the holistic thing of who we are. It's the love we share. It's the light we share. It's nourishing ourselves at every level. So keep working on it. It's a day-to-day thing. Just keep learning it every day in baby steps. Take it into your heart. And, living in good health is a beautiful way to live. So to everybody out there, peace and blessings.